today's story, A Journey of Belonging. We have also added this story to our playlist, where you can find all our channel stories at one place for your convenience. In a small, dimly lit room at the edge of a bustling city, 12-year-old Jake sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by scattered books and crumpled papers. The walls were adorned with faded posters of superheroes and athletes, figures who embodied strength, hope, and the dreams he longed to chase. Outside, the sounds of children laughing and playing echoed, but Jake remained trapped in his own world, burdened by an unshakable sense of loneliness. His family struggled to make ends meet. His father, once a skilled mechanic, had lost his job after an accident left him unable to work. His mother took on multiple odd jobs, leaving little time for her children. With 2 younger siblings to care for, Jake often felt like the adult in the house. He helped with chores, cooked simple meals, and tried to comfort his siblings when they cried. But despite his efforts, the weight of his own dreams pressed heavily on his shoulders. Jake's greatest passion was soccer. Every day after school, he would race to the small park nearby, where a group of boys gathered to play. The moment he stepped onto the field, his worries faded away. He envisioned himself as the star player, leading his team to victory, earning the admiration of his peers. But reality was cruel. His worn-out shoes and tattered jersey made him the subject of teasing. They called him poor kid, and though he tried to brush it off, their words cut deep. One afternoon, as he practiced his dribbling alone, an older boy named Ryan noticed him. Ryan was the captain of the local youth team, known for his talent and charisma. He approached Jake with an air of confidence, watching as Jake executed a perfect kick. "You've got skills, kid," Ryan said, a smile spreading across his face. "Why don't you join us for practice tomorrow?" Hope surged within Jake, but it was quickly tempered by doubt. He hesitated, thinking about his responsibilities at home and the teasing he might face from other players. Yet, the flicker of possibility ignited something in him. "Okay, I'll be there," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. That night, Jake lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, consumed by a mix of excitement and fear. Could this be his chance? He envisioned himself scoring goals, celebrating with teammates, feeling accepted. But with the dream came the realization of how precarious it all felt. What if he failed? What if his family needed him at home? The conflicting thoughts kept him awake, the weight of his dreams heavy on his heart. As the sun rose the next morning, Jake dressed in his best clothes, a makeshift jersey that had seen better days. He practiced his kicks in the small yard, trying to shake off the nerves. But as he stepped out, the familiar dread crept in. What if today was just another reminder of how different he was? Despite the fears swirling in his mind, He made his way to the park, each step echoing with uncertainty. But as he approached, he could see Ryan and the others laughing, their voices mingling with the warm breeze. It was a scene filled with camaraderie and joy, a world he desperately wanted to be part of. Taking a deep breath, Jake stepped onto the field. Little did he know, this day would mark the beginning of a journey that would change his life forever, one filled with both hope and heartache, as he navigated the complexities of dreams, belonging, and the stark reality of his tragic circumstances. The park buzzed with energy as Jake arrived for practice. The bright afternoon sun cast long shadows across the field, where kids ran and shouted, their laughter mixing with the thud of soccer balls. He stood at the edge, heart racing, unsure if he should approach or retreat. But then he spotted Ryan, who waved him over with an encouraging grin. "Glad you made it," Ryan called, clapping Jake on the shoulder. "We've been waiting for you. Come on, let's warm up." Jake felt a rush of relief wash over him. For the first time in a long while, he felt like he belonged. As they jogged together, he could see the others glancing his way, their expressions a mix of curiosity and indifference. It was a small victory, but it meant the world to him. After a few laps, Ryan divided the team into pairs for practice drills. Jake was partnered with Alex, a skilled player known for his speed and agility. As they began, Jake struggled to keep up, his nerves creeping back in. But Alex was patient, offering tips and encouragement. "Just focus on the ball, man. You've got this." With each pass and shot, Jake found his rhythm. The exhilarating feeling of being part of a team surged through him. He laughed and bantered with the others, slowly shedding the weight of his insecurities. When it was time for a scrimmage, he felt a mix of excitement and dread. This was his chance to prove himself. As the game kicked off, Jake positioned himself in the center, trying to stay aware of the ball and his teammates. He was initially hesitant, but as he watched Ryan lead the play, something inside him sparked. With renewed confidence, he dashed forward, calling for the ball. To his surprise, Ryan passed it to him. Jake's heart raced as he controlled the ball and took a shot. It soared through the air, a perfect arc, before landing just shy of the goal. "Nice try," Ryan shouted, clapping Jake on the back. "You're getting the hang of it." The encouragement fueled Jake's determination. He played harder, weaving between defenders and chasing down every loose ball. The game flowed around him, and for the first time, he felt like he was part of something bigger. As the match progressed, he even managed to score a goal, sending his teammates into cheers. After practice, Jake was buzzing with excitement. He felt like he could fly. "You played great today, man," Ryan said, ruffling his hair. "We could use someone like you on the team for real." Jake beamed, his heart swelling with pride. For a moment, the worries about his family and their struggles faded into the background. He was no longer just the poor kid, but a player, an integral part of a team. But as he walked home, the reality of his situation crept back in. His family was still in turmoil, and the responsibilities waiting for him loomed large. The fleeting joy of acceptance clashed with the weight of his daily life. When he reached home, the familiar scent of cooking filled the air, and his younger siblings were playing on the floor. "Jake, you're back!" his sister Lily exclaimed, rushing to hug him. "Did you win?" his brother Tommy asked, eyes wide with admiration. "Sort of," Jake replied, trying to downplay his excitement. "We had practice. I scored a goal." Their faces lit up, and in that moment, Jake felt the warmth of family pull him back from the edge of his worries. He joined them, playing games and laughing, but in the back of his mind, he knew that this joy was fragile. The next day would bring new challenges, and the realities of his life would return, demanding his attention. That night, as Jake lay in bed, he replayed the day's events in his mind. The laughter, the cheers, the sense of belonging, it was a taste of something he craved deeply. But the harsh truth of his circumstances lingered. Would he be able to balance his dreams with the responsibilities he bore? Little did he know. The journey ahead would test his strength in ways he could never have imagined. The following days brought a whirlwind of practice sessions, laughter, and a burgeoning friendship with Ryan and the other players. Jake found himself waking up with a renewed sense of purpose, eager to embrace the excitement of soccer. Yet, beneath the surface of this newfound joy, shadows of doubt loomed larger with each passing day. As the team began preparing for an upcoming tournament, Jake's focus sharpened. He trained hard, pushing himself to improve, but he couldn't shake the nagging fear that he didn't truly belong. Despite Ryan's encouragement, the whispers of insecurity crept back in. What if he let everyone down? What if he messed up when it counted? One afternoon after practice, Ryan pulled Jake aside. "You're really coming into your own, man. Just keep believing in yourself. You've got the skills." His words were like a balm to Jake's worries, but they only partially eased the tension in his chest. As the tournament approached, Jake felt the weight of expectations settle on him. He was excited to play, but also terrified of failing in front of everyone. The voices of doubt grew louder, echoing in his mind, reminding him of his worn-out shoes and the jeers from those who had once called him poor kid. That Friday night, the team gathered at Ryan's house for a pre-tournament dinner. As they ate pizza and joked around, Jake felt a warmth envelop him, a sense of camaraderie he had never experienced before. But when the conversation shifted to the tournament, he felt a knot tighten in his stomach. "Jake, you ready to score the winning goal?" Alex teased, giving him a playful nudge. Laughter erupted around the table, but Jake could only muster a weak smile. Inside, his heart raced with anxiety. Later that night, as he lay in bed, he stared at the ceiling, his mind racing. He envisioned the tournament, the crowd, the pressure. What if he choked? What if he made a mistake that cost the team? He tried to silence the thoughts, but they swirled around him like a storm. The next day dawned bright and clear. The air was thick with excitement as Jake and the team arrived at the field. As they warmed up, the energy of the crowd buzzed around them, amplifying his anxiety. The cheers and shouts felt like a pressure cooker, building tension in his chest. When the whistle blew to start the game, Jake felt like he was in a daze. The opposing team was fierce, and he struggled to keep up. Every missed pass and errant kick felt magnified under the gaze of the crowd, feeding his self-doubt. Ryan shouted encouragement from the sidelines, but Jake could barely hear him over the pounding of his heart. As the game progressed, the pressure mounted. Jake found himself in a one-on-one situation with the goalkeeper, the chance to score the goal that could change everything. Time seemed to slow as he approached, the net stretching out before him like a vast chasm, but in that moment, the weight of expectation crashed down. Doubt flooded his mind. And instead of taking the shot, he hesitated. The goalkeeper lunged, and Jake's opportunity slipped away. The ball rolled harmlessly past the goal. A wave of disappointment washed over him, followed by the sound of jeers from a few spectators. The laughter cut deeper than any physical blow. He had failed his team, his friends, and himself. As the game continued, Jake felt himself withdrawing, the shadows closing in. He played defensively, avoiding the ball, terrified of making another mistake. When the final whistle blew, the score was tied, and the game would go into penalties. Standing in the huddle, Jake felt a heavy knot in his stomach. He was chosen to take the final shot. And the weight of his teammates' hopes pressed down on him. As he stepped forward, the crowd's noise faded into a dull roar. All he could hear was his own heartbeat. With a deep breath, he focused on the ball, trying to block out the voices in his head. But the moment he kicked, doubt surged back. The ball sailed over the crossbar, and the crowd fell silent. In that instant, he felt his world collapse around him. Jake turned away, his heart heavy with shame. He had let everyone down. As his teammates celebrated the tie, he slipped away to the sidelines, feeling the sting of tears in his eyes. The shadows of doubt had consumed him, and he questioned whether he would ever truly belong. That night, alone in his room, Jake wrestled with his emotions. The taste of acceptance he had savored felt bitter now. He had glimpsed a world of dreams, but had been reminded of the harsh realities he faced. The battle for belonging was far from over, and he would have to confront not just the expectations of others, but the ones he held for himself. The days that followed the tournament felt like a blur for Jake. The sting of disappointment weighed heavily on him, overshadowing the fleeting joy he had felt during practices and games. He avoided the park, feeling unworthy of the team's camaraderie. Instead, he found himself retreating into the shadows of his room, drowning in self-doubt. His siblings noticed the change in him. Lily and Tommy would knock on his door, eager to play, but Jake would smile weakly and decline, burying himself in his schoolwork or lost in thought. He was grappling with feelings of shame and isolation, questioning whether he should continue pursuing soccer at all. One afternoon, as he sat in the living room staring blankly at the TV, his mother entered with a plate of cookies. "Hey, Jake. I know things didn't go the way you wanted at the tournament, but I want you to remember something," she said gently, sitting beside him. "Failure is part of growing. What matters is how you pick yourself back up." Her words resonated with him, but the path to recovery felt daunting. That evening, while trying to clear his head, he picked up his old soccer ball and headed to the empty lot nearby. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the field, and for a moment, he felt a spark of nostalgia. He began to practice, dribbling the ball and taking shots on an improvised goal made of old crates. With every kick, he let go of some of the tension that had built up inside him. The rhythm of the ball against his foot became a familiar melody, and slowly, he started to rediscover his love for the game. Over the next few weeks, Jake returned to the park, slowly reintegrating himself into the team. He found solace in the rhythm of practice and the laughter of his friends. Ryan, ever the supportive teammate, encouraged him to keep pushing forward, reminding him that everyone had off days. "What matters is how you respond," he would say, clapping Jake on the back, as the team prepared for a rematch against the same opponents from the tournament. Jake felt a mix of anticipation and dread. The memory of that fateful penalty kick loomed large in his mind, but he also sensed an opportunity for redemption. The night before the game, he lay in bed, visualizing his moves on the field, focusing on the feeling of triumph instead of fear. On game day, the atmosphere was electric. Jake arrived early, the scent of freshly cut grass filling the air. His teammates were buzzing with energy, and for the first time in weeks, he felt a flicker of excitement ignite within him. The match began, and Jake played with renewed vigor. Every pass, every run felt like a step toward reclaiming his confidence. He focused on the game, blocking out the doubts that had once haunted him. Midway through the first half, he found himself in a familiar position, a chance to score. This time, he took a deep breath and let instinct guide him. With a quick sidestep, he evaded a defender and launched the ball toward the goal. It flew past the goalkeeper, hitting the back of the net. The stadium erupted in cheers, and Jake felt an exhilarating rush of joy. His teammates surrounded him, lifting him off the ground, celebrating not just the goal, but his comeback. As the game continued, Jake remained in the moment, playing with a newfound confidence that radiated from within. When the final whistle blew, the team had secured a decisive victory. They gathered in a huddle, laughing and celebrating, but all Jake could think about was how far he had come. After the game, Ryan pulled him aside again. "See, I told you that you belonged here. You just needed to believe in yourself." The pride in Ryan's voice warmed Jake's heart. As they walked home, the sun setting behind them, Jake reflected on the journey he had taken. The path had been filled with doubt and setbacks, but he had learned to rise again. He understood now that failure didn't define him. It was how he responded that mattered. That night, as he lay in bed, the memories of the game played in his mind like a highlight reel. He felt a sense of peace, knowing he had faced his fears and emerged stronger. The road ahead would still have its challenges, but he was ready to embrace whatever came next, both on the field and in life. The weeks following the tournament victory were a whirlwind of excitement for Jake and the team. They celebrated their win with a small party at the park, filled with laughter, music, and an endless supply of pizza. For the first time in a long while, Jake felt at home among his peers, and the shadows of doubt that had once clouded his heart began to fade. As the soccer season progressed, Jake's skills sharpened and his confidence soared. He no longer played to prove himself, but simply for the love of the game. His relationship with Ryan and the others deepened. They became more than teammates. They were friends who supported one another through thick and thin. One afternoon, after a particularly grueling practice, the team gathered for a pep talk. Ryan looked at each of them, eyes sparkling with determination. "We have a chance to compete in the regional championships next month," he announced. Excited chatter filled the air, but Jake felt a familiar flutter of nerves. "What if we don't make it?" he thought. But before he could spiral into doubt, he remembered how far he had come. "We've worked hard," he reminded himself, pushing the negativity aside. As the championship approached, the team trained relentlessly. Jake felt the familiar rush of anticipation, but also an underlying tension. The memory of the tournament loss lingered, a reminder of what was at stake. But this time, he was determined to face whatever challenges lay ahead with an open heart. On the day of the championship, the atmosphere was electric. The stadium was filled with fans, and the air buzzed with excitement. Jake felt a sense of unity among his teammates, a bond forged through shared struggles and triumphs. As they warmed up, he looked at Ryan, who gave him a reassuring nod. "Just play your game," Ryan said. "We've got your back." When the whistle blew, Jake focused on the field, his mind clear. The game unfolded like a beautifully choreographed dance, each pass, each sprint filled with purpose. Jake played with heart, seamlessly working with his teammates. He felt the joy of the game flow through him, each moment reminding him of why he loved soccer in the first place. As the match progressed, the score remained tight. With only minutes left on the clock, the opposing team scored, putting Jake's team on the brink of defeat. In that moment, the familiar doubts crept back in, whispering that they were destined to lose. But he took a deep breath, recalling his mother's words, "Failure is part of growing." With renewed determination, Jake rallied his teammates. "We can do this. Let's fight until the end." His words ignited a fire in their hearts, and they surged forward, playing with everything they had. In the final moments of the game, Jake found himself with the ball. He dribbled down the field, heart pounding, focusing solely on the goal ahead. The defender closed in, but he sidestepped with practiced ease, his instincts guiding him. With the goal in sight, he took a shot, a clean, powerful strike that soared past the goalkeeper and nestled into the net. The crowd erupted in cheers as his teammates engulfed him in a jubilant embrace. They had done it. They were champions. As the final whistle blew, Jake felt a wave of emotion wash over him. The journey from doubt to triumph had been fraught with challenges, but he had learned to embrace both his victories and failures. He looked at his teammates, their faces beaming with joy, and he felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. They had lifted him when he was down, and together, they had risen to this moment. That night, as the team celebrated their hard-earned victory, Jake realized that soccer was more than just a game for him. It was a path to understanding himself, a way to connect with others, and a source of resilience in the face of adversity. In the weeks that followed, he continued to play and grow, both on and off the field. The lessons he had learned about perseverance, friendship, and self-acceptance stayed with him, guiding him through the challenges of adolescence. As summer turned to fall and school resumed, Jake approached life with renewed vigor. He knew that the road ahead would still have its ups and downs, but now he faced it with confidence and a belief in himself. He was no longer just the poor kid, but a young man with dreams, ambitions, and the strength to pursue them. With the sun setting on the horizon, Jake smiled to himself, ready to embrace whatever the future held. Soccer had taught him to rise after falling, to find joy in the journey, and to cherish the bonds he had forged along the way. And as he stepped into the next chapter of his life, he knew he would carry those lessons with him, lighting the path forward. Thank you for subscribing to our channel. You are awesome.